step back so that I can take my mask off. If you'd like to move back a couple of rows, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, so I just want to tell you before I do it, all right? Okay. All right. Okay, so I want to welcome you all to Leman Academy of Excellence, Central Tucson. I'm Michelle Wolford and I'm the principal. I'm so excited about our school. I have a lot to share with you, but I promise that I won't talk the whole time. So really what I want to do tonight is try to tailor the info session to those of you who are here in person. We do have an online component, so you kind of notice that we've got some multimedia events going on. So if we do have some people that are joining us virtually, then we'll try to take those questions as well. But so I did get, before we started, that we have an incoming 6th grader, an incoming kindergarten scholar, and kindergarten as well. Perfect. Okay. And then as others come in, we'll just try to gather that information as well. So I definitely will be talking. I have an entire slide about kindergarten because oftentimes those are the families that will come to the info sessions because usually that's when many of our families do join us. But I certainly would love to talk about middle school as well. So we'll just make sure that we cover all of those different types of questions. So I will leave enough time at the end for the things that I did not cover for your specific questions. So welcome. What I'm doing just really quickly is kind of gauging the audience. So I've got some incoming kindergarten families, a 6th grade scholar incoming. So if you don't mind just sharing your incoming scholar or scholars.
4th grade.
4th grade.
In preschool.
4th grade in preschool?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I can say a few things about preschool.
Oh, yes.
Although they do normally have their own info sessions, but I can talk a little bit about that maybe at the end.
Oh, we have a 1st grader and then possibly a 4th grader.
Okay, so for the upcoming year.
Yeah.
Okay, incoming 1st and 4th. And incoming what grade?
2nd grade.
2nd grade. Okay, so we'll just kind of try to cover as much as we can as far as all of those grades are concerned. So again, I'm Michelle Wolford and I'm the principal. We have our vice principal, Heather Para, on media alert this evening for the multimedia presentation. But again, I have a really quick PowerPoint presentation, and then I'll make sure to save lots of time for your specific questions because I want to make sure that you get the most out of this presentation tonight. And I might have to start by flipping my own slides. So the first thing that I want to show you is a video from my boss, and that is Mr. Dennis O'Reilly. He's our head of schools over all of the Leman academies that we do have, both here in Tucson. We have one in Mesa, we even have one in Parker, Colorado. And so he's going to talk to you about why you should choose Leman Academy of Excellence.
Hello, my name is Dennis O'Reilly. I am the Vice President of Relations for Leman Academy of Excellence. I was privileged to join Leman Academy back in 2013, and I was given the opportunity to formulate and create Leman Academy's philosophy and educational program from its humble beginnings. And I did so with you, the parents, in mind. Can you imagine being given the opportunity to start from scratch to put together a school that we as parents believe can be a place that our children love to come to every day? That our scholars are not merely surviving, but really thriving? And best still, be a place that young people know they are cared for and loved, hence the thriving part. A place that offers vitamin E encouragement daily to the scholars, a vitamin we all need every day. I am going to take a step back for a moment to 1 year ago when a dad came up to me after our 3rd quarter awards assembly. This dad approached me and thanked me for being true to my word. When I asked him what exactly he meant, he said he really appreciated how after everything Leman Academy and the information sessions back in the spring of 2018 has been fulfilled. He said most places talk a good game, but that Leman followed through and actually did what they said they were going to do. If you and I were able to be together right now in a room for an information session, my opening question to you would go something like this. So, what brought you here? Why are you interested in Leman Academy of Excellence for your son or daughter? Many in the audience might say, because of your classical education program. Others will say, because you educate the whole child. Still many will tell me, because they have heard, we have a genuine desire to partner with the home. And still many will tell me, because they know Leman offers an accelerated academic program. And finally, many tell me, because we also have Charlotte Mason's educational philosophy as part of our curriculum, especially the part of respecting each child as a person who is an adult becoming. Now that sounds like someone else I know who has the same approach. Do you know that many schools around the country offer a classical education, and those schools may also be Charlotte Mason influenced? And hopefully they do partner with the home, and they may educate the whole child. For many schools, they can be accelerated. But do you also know that every one of those schools don't have the one thing we do have, which makes us a rather unique school district? Actually, like no other school to be found anywhere in the country. And that's because we have Dr. Kevin Lehman. No one else has Dr. Lehman. Dr. Lehman will also tell you that children are adults becoming, and they are to be respected and treated with care, love, and shown dignity. For every young person is unique and has value, born with specific gifts. Dr. Lehman dreamed of launching a school for young people, boldly engages and embraces parents in the education of their children, knowing that the holistic approach, the school-parent-teacher-scholar relationship, is necessary to bring out the best in a child. Parental partnership, according to Dr. Leman, is essential in maximizing a scholar's educational experience and academic journey. Dr. Leman set up Leman Academy so that encouragement for young people reigns. He believes that learning should be engaging and fun. He only wants teachers who truly care about young people and will emphasize each one's uniqueness and giftedness. Expectations for scholars, both academically and behaviorally, are very high. And because of that, if you expect the best, you'll get the best from scholars. Leman Academy is a place where scholars are challenged to learn in a safe environment, devoid of bullying and put-downs. It's a place where scholars are treated with respect, love, and care. The key principles of respect, accountability, and individuality that are found in Dr. Lehman's bestsellers, such as Have a New Kid by Friday, Making Children Mind Without Losing Yours, as well as his most famous book, The Burglar Book, are all incorporated and interwoven into everyday life for scholars at Leman Academy of Excellence. We have integrated our curriculum with things that are excellent, with an eye toward truth, goodness, and beauty. Teachers and scholars developing meaningful relationships will only increase the scholar's sense of belonging to the school. Teachers who take a personal interest in every one of their scholars, where scholars feel Leman Academy is their home, where scholars can express their ideas and no one puts them down. Developing positive relationships is based on the golden rule, to treat others as you would want to be treated yourself. Relationships are the key to all of life, including its failures and its successes. Failures are treated as learning experiences and growing opportunities. And finally, Dr. Lehman would tell parents that they are necessary and needed. Their child is to reach their full potential in life. Of course, as the information night would have progressed, you would have learned that Leman Academy offers what I like to call the 3 R's: recitation, read aloud, and recess. And we offer all 3 R's for all grade levels. We have Spanish for our kinder through 2nd grade, Latin starting in 3rd grade, and logic offered in middle school. Scholars study ancient times and Middle Ages, early modern times, and modern times in our history curriculum. Scholars will study earth science, biology, chemistry, and physics as part of their science curriculum. Scholars are offered math 1 year ahead through the Saxon Math program, so that kindergarten scholars will start with 1st grade Saxon Math and 8th graders finish with Algebra 1. I would also share that our scholars read nothing but the best of literature, which is also what a true class prefers. The great books, the great ideas, the great conversations. And our scholars will finish in 8th grade reading such books as The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, Red Badge of Courage, All Quiet on the Western Front, and finally, To Kill a Mockingbird. Such books indeed. Our core values of excellence in academics, partnership with families, and children being born persons who are unique and worthy of our utmost attention, love, and respect were all brought forth by Dr. Leman in his educational philosophy. We want our scholars to be lifelong learners, have the ability to discern between what is true, good, and beautiful, to know and understand what it means to embrace virtue as your moral compass in life, to be able to develop intellectual skills that equip a young person to think critically. And we want our scholars to develop leadership skills in order to make a difference in today's world. We are grateful you are looking our way at Leman Academy of Excellence, and we hope our partnership has only just begun. I have left a contact number to call if you would like to get in touch with me to ask questions. I would be happy further with you. Thank you.
All right. So, if you didn't already know this, we're founded by Dr. Kevin Lehman, and here are just some of his over 65 best-selling books. As Mr. O'Reilly already mentioned, we basically, our entire philosophy, the way that we speak to our scholars, the way that we handle our relational discipline, is really rooted in many of his books. These are probably the core books that we use as far as when we are doing our incoming teacher training. And so even oftentimes when we find that parents might be struggling, I might even recommend one of these books if I find that we have a powerful child as an example, then I might just recommend that they pick up and read this book. So many of his principles are just really common sense as far as logical consequences for children. And these are things that we utilize as far as the teachers in the classroom. So one of the things that you would notice if your scholar was at Leman Academy is that instead of just getting a blanket, like how many of you have ever served a lunch detention just for any infraction whatsoever? Because I definitely have. So instead, what we do is we actually look at what the scholar has done. So I'll give you an example. Let's say Johnny, it's always Johnny. I apologize if any of you are named John or Johnny. Let's say Johnny has written on his desk. Well, then the teacher would pull Johnny aside very discreetly and have a conversation with Johnny. Johnny, let's talk about this. I want you to understand that, this is your desk, but this is our school property. We need to have respect for our things. This is going to be your desk all year. And we want to make sure that we treat our things with respect. So we'll ask Johnny, what do you think should happen? Sometimes our scholars give us, all these grandiose ideas. I should be expelled. And of course we're like, no, that's not going to happen. But they do sometimes become part of that conversation. And so usually then it leads to the natural consequence. So instead of just serving a lunch detention where he just sits there and I don't know what he does, then we'll have him maybe sit inside for a few minutes, and then he'll get some cleaning supplies and he will clean what he just defaced on the desk. And then we'll say, okay, so you did this to your desk, you understand why it's wrong. We all make mistakes, we just need to make sure that we learn from them. Now we want you to go off and play. You clearly understand, you've gotten your consequence, the slate is wiped clean, go and play. So that's the relational discipline with the logical consequences. Just one of obviously many, many examples that we would use. This clearly is not working, so I'm just gonna have to keep walking over here. All right, so I think in order, if you are considering our school at all, I think you would need to know what our mission statement is. This is something that we as teachers and educators, we recite this at each of our professional development sessions every Wednesday. This is something that we live and breathe. So it's not just something that we throw up on a slide and look at once a year. This is something that we here at Leman Academy Central Tucson, we live it every single day. So not only do we offer a rigorous classical education, but we make sure, and I'll talk more about the fact that our disciplines are interrelated. And then we want to make sure that our scholars are allowed to think independently and critically. I think that's really important. So we also, a huge part, and I've devoted an entire slide to that, is that we purpose to partner with supportive parents. So I won't dwell on that at the moment, but we will touch on that in just a few more minutes. Pursuing excellence is, obviously we didn't name our school Leman Academy of Excellence for no reason. And then, of course, as parents, Mrs. Parra and I are both parents ourselves, I'm sure that all of you want to make sure that your child is safe in our school. So we provide a safe environment, but we also want to make sure that they're challenged, because I'm sure you're here because you really care about your child's education. And then I will also talk about how we work to instill morals and values, because we want to make sure that by the time they graduate with us after the 8th grade, that they don't just know a lot of things as far as the educational component, and of course we want that too, but we want them to be good citizens. We want your children to be someone that you would be proud of. We are training them to open doors for one another, to say please and thank you, to have respect for each other and things. And so we have a series of virtues and values that we go through every month of the year, of the school year. So those are also important. So these, just very quickly, if you know anything about the classical education model, it just goes in different stages. And so for our younger scholars, we consider that they are in the grammar stage, right? So they're just getting those roots. And they are, it's the time for them to be basically learning. And so they will be reciting, they'll be singing jingles, and it's not a lot of repetition for the sake of repetition, but they're learning those building blocks, and that's their foundational knowledge. And then once they get into the grades 4 through 6, we consider that the logic stage. So that's when they're starting to understand and think and analyze their surroundings. And then by the time they enter grade 7 and above, because there are some classical schools that go all the way through 12th grade, then that's the time that they really are applying in the rhetoric stage. So there are usually some amazing Socratic discussions, and not to say that the younger grades can't have those, but those are really when those really rich discussions will come out, because they have learned how to persuade you, and after they've been able to apply all of this knowledge that they are gaining throughout those years. So you heard a little bit about the different time periods in history that we study. And I know that in the back you probably can't read this, but in the 1st and the 5th grade, we study the ancient time period. Then we move in 2nd and 6th grade to the medieval time period. In 3rd grade, it's the early modern time period, 3rd and 7th, I should say. And then for 4th and 8th grade, because we will go into the 8th grade in year 3, so in this second year that we will be starting in the 21-22 year, we'll be going up to grade 7. So we will eventually grow to be a K through 8 school. We will study the modern time period. So it's a cycle, and what's really, I think, I'm gonna say cool, because I think it's cool. What's really nice about this is that scholars in the younger grades will get that general knowledge, and they'll start to develop the understanding of the time period in history. But then what happens starting in the 5th grade and above is that if you're with us for all 8 of those years, because in kindergarten we don't actually study a time period in history, but we do other really amazing things, is that you really start to go much more in depth into those time periods. And so you can have a lot more rich discussions. And so you study different novels and things like that. So it's important to note that in classical education, history is actually the hub, if you think about it as a wheel, and history is the hub of the spokes of the wheel branch out from there. And so everything that we do really centers around that historical time period in history. So you'll study scientists that were alive during that time period in history. You might do science experiments that relate to the time period in history. You'll read the novels that, as best as we can, that center around what's happening in that timeline. And so the scholars will build a timeline literally in their classroom that stretches around their classroom. That's like a living document for them. They also make copybooks so that by the end of the year, they have an entire time period that they can now remember from ancient times, from starting in Egypt, and that goes all the way through the rise of the Roman Republic as one example. So again, this is just more about our interwoven disciplines. What I want to mention from this slide is that our scholars in grades 1 through 7 next year go to the specials classes that are a rotation of art, music, and PE. And our full-day scholars in kindergarten would also attend those specials, and we'll talk about kindergarten in just a moment. And what our art and music teachers will do is they will learn what our second graders, for example, are studying. And so they will have a composer of the month, and it might be Mozart. And then they will also incorporate that into their music lesson. And then our art teacher might find an artist of the month, and then she can incorporate that into what she's teaching in art. The teachers will also do that as well because they do picture studies within their classroom. And then oftentimes you might walk into a classroom and you will hear music that is related to the time period that they're studying. So I was just in a 6th grade class and I heard classical music being played as the scholars were taking a math test. So it's all interwoven so that the scholars really get that full sense of that historical time period that they're studying. So not only are we challenging, but I think what is more important for you to know about what your scholar is walking into is that you want to make sure that they aren't bored. So it's engaging and it's fun. That was something that Dr. Lehman said, this has to be fun. So he oftentimes, obviously we're in COVID times, but I want you to know that once we all get to take our masks off, that you are welcome on our campus. We want you to know that you can come in and eat lunch with your scholar. You can volunteer in your child's classroom. And Dr. Leman will come in, and when he comes to visit teachers and their classrooms, he wants to see scholars having fun. Mrs. Parra and I do as well. We want to see smiles on faces, and trust me, you can see them through the masks. It's a little bit harder, but you can see them. So as you might have heard in the video from Mr. O'Reilly, we are accelerated 1 year in math. We use the Saxon curriculum. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it for math, but that starts all the way down in kindergarten, where they are in the 1st grade level of math, and then it goes all the way up. So next year for 7th grade math, they're in the 8th grade level of math for Saxon. So whatever grade your scholar will be going into, just bump him or her up 1 grade level, and that will be the math textbook. If you are thinking about entering in any grade other than kindergarten, what I always want to make sure and reassure families about is that We just opened a brand new school, K through 6 this year. So if you can imagine, we just had scholars coming in from here and there and everywhere. So please don't worry about your scholar perhaps, not being ready for X grade math. We know how to do this. And so what we do is we just take the scholars where they are, and we will obviously continue to challenge them, but we meet them where they are, and then we just ratchet it up and we get them to where they need to go. Because we just believe that scholars are capable. And so we do just continue to challenge them. And then here we just have a couple of examples. So this is our our medieval time period. This would be a novel that our second graders would read within that time period. But then this would be a 6th grade novel for that same time period. So again, the novels are rich, they're classical, and then when the teachers do the read alouds for the scholars, usually they're a couple of grade levels higher because they're reading the content to the scholars and they want them to hear that rich vocabulary, because we know that just helps them to continue to build upon their vocabulary as they're growing. So I promised to talk to you about our virtues and values. Every month we have at least 2. So in January, that's the exception, because right now we are studying, or we're working on truth, goodness, and beauty for the month of January. And then in February, we move to service and justice. So every month we just focus on a couple of different virtues and values. In August, we start with respect and excellence, kind of the core values, and we teach our scholars, what does this mean? And so we move into silence and order. So then an example would be that we teach our scholars, if you're moving from your classroom over to walk to the gym, then you have to show respect and silence in the hallways, because all of the other classes are studying right now. And so we have to be mindful of that and respectful. So it just kind of it's all interwoven. You'll often hear scholars or one of us give compliments to the scholars. So we don't just say good job, because we don't just praise for no good reason, but we'll say, oh wow, Mrs. Hall, I don't even hear your scholars. That is so respectful. Thank you for showing us silence and order in the hallways. So we'll give them compliments like that. So we want you to know that we believe that education is not just about teaching them the reading, writing, arithmetic, or as Mr. O'Reilly was saying, recitation and read alouds and all of those other things. But we do want to reach the heart of the child. And we want to make sure that we are fostering those virtues and values in them as well. So, we obviously cannot do this without you. I think that you might find that other schools kind of feel like you just go ahead and drop your child off at the door, and we've got it from here. And we'll call you if anything comes up, but you never hear from the school ever again, including maybe the teacher, I don't know. But that is not how we operate at all. So within the first 2 weeks of school, you will receive a phone call from your child's teacher introducing him or herself, wanting to get to know your child through you. Tell us about your daughter. Tell us, how does she best learn? Things like that, so that you can start that partnership, because that will be a really important relationship between you and your child's teacher for the remainder of that school year. We use an app on our phone called the Remind app. Obviously, there are a few boundaries. I don't expect our teachers to be texting back and forth at 11 p.m. as an example, but we definitely want to keep those lines of communication open. And I think, it's important to know what you're also signing up for, because we recognize that you are the expert on your child, and we value that and we respect it, but we also do really need your support. So if I have to call and say, hey, I've got Susie in my office, and this is what's happened, then we also would ask for that support as well, trusting the adults in the building. So it kind of goes both ways. But once you've established that relationship, then I think the trust part comes in pretty naturally because you've got that relationship going right from the very beginning in August. All right, let's talk about kindergarten for just a few minutes. I know not everyone in the room is a potential kindergarten parent, but there are just a few things that are different about kindergarten. I already mentioned that not all of them go to our rotating specials classes. So we have a half day and a full day option for kindergarten. Obviously the half day option would be free. That's what is funded by our state. And all of the core standards are taught within that half day program. Currently, so we have a staggered bell schedule. And this year, obviously, we're gonna have to look at it over the summer with adding 7th grade and our enrollment numbers and all of that. But right now, our bell schedule is such that our kindergarten classes start at 8:10 in the morning, and our half-day kinders get out at 12:15. They don't have a formal lunch, but obviously we want them to pack snacks. They have a recess before they are dismissed at 12:15, but they get their ELA block, their math block, and their knowledge and discovery, which is kind of a science social studies blend. And then the full day option, those scholars will get out at 2:55 this year. So I'm just making sure because I haven't set the bell schedule yet for next year. And then with that, the scholars would be able to attend the rotating specials classes, art, music, and PE, and then they get enrichment. So I want you to understand it wouldn't be enrichment in our core classes, but it would be more of the knowledge and discovery, and they might get extra art projects in class that they might do and things like that. So those are just some things to consider. There is a tuition associated with the full day kindergarten program. It's currently $300 a month, and I'm not sure that it's going up next year.
Not yet.
Okay, not yet that we have heard. And then there are breaks for paying per semester, and there's an even larger break if you pay for the whole year in one fell swoop. So Ms. Gonzalez just walked in. She's our office manager, and she knows everything there is to know about kindergarten tuition. So, and this is just a picture that I just took last week when we had our honors assemblies, where our scholars who achieve honor roll or high honor roll get different colored crowns. And then this is what this year, what a typical kindergarten classroom looks like. Obviously, if we don't have to worry about COVID next year, the kindergarten classes would look a little bit different because we would be able to seat the scholars in more of like a pod configuration. So, but you can see it's nice and bright. There's a carpet, there's a math wall that the scholars will work on every single day, and it's just bright and cheery, and it always makes me smile to walk into kindergarten. So some of the questions that I am usually asked are, do we have after school extracurriculars? Do we have a sports program? Yes. Do we have it this year? No. So that's been kind of a bummer for our current scholars. Obviously, 2020 was just a bummer for everybody, right? So this is what I'm hoping that we will be able to offer for the 21-22 school year. This is what a normal Leman Academy school year looks like. So we have 3 sports seasons. You can see them up there. They are in order, so fall, winter, and spring. That's what we normally offer. We belong to a charter school league. It's called TIAL. If any of you care, just, some people do. And then this is just a sampling, so not a guarantee, but Ms. Gonzalez and I moved over here from East Tucson. We were there for the past 2 years. We opened that school. There's something kind of wrong with us because we just keep opening schools, but anyway, we said no more, we're here now. So But these are the programs that we had at East Tucson, and we were in negotiations to start offering those extracurriculars before COVID hit us all upside the head. So just to let you see as examples. So we're sitting in the cafeteria right now, one of our 2 cafeterias. This is actually, once we are at capacity, this will be our elementary cafeteria. And then if you look to your left, that is the middle school building, and there's another cafeteria in the middle school building. So all that to say that we do offer a lunch program, and it's completely voluntary. Many of our scholars pack their own lunches every day and bring their snacks, and we have lots of lunch boxes that are brought in every day. But there is a program that parents can choose to participate in. It's all online. We would give you all the instructions, and behind me, so maybe after we finish, if you're really interested, in that back corner to your right, there is a list of the vendors that we currently partner with to offer the dishes to you vendors that bring in the food. So I'll give you an example. I had a caprese salad from Sauce today. It was delightful. I love it. I order it every other Tuesday, so just vendors like that. So really good restaurants, and you can get some very healthy food options. So I mean, I don't get anything for plugging it, I promise. Like, there's no kickback for me. I just order like the yummy food. And then we do have basically an aftercare program. We call it Afterbell, and that's run by some really caring professionals. They're super fun, and the scholars enjoy going. In fact, sometimes I'll hear the scholars when they go out to dismissal, because Mrs. Parr and I do that as well, and they'll go, "Well, I don't get to go to Afterbell today," like the parents are picking them up. Sorry, but it's true. Because they have so much fun. They get to play, and they get to go like in different rooms and maybe do like crafts or play with a certain like soccer game or all those kinds of things. So just wanted to make sure you did know that we do offer. There is a small fee. I believe this year it's $5.50 an hour. It's prorated, so you don't have to pay, like if you're there for an hour and 5 minutes, you don't have to pay the entire $5.50 for the next hour. It's totally prorated. There's a discount for multiple siblings. So we really do work with the families to make it, I think, family friendly. All right. This was our Halloween costume this year. I just thought it was funny, so I threw it on there. And this is our front office staff. 3 of us are here right now. We have our admin assistant and our actual health coordinator. So she was like, "Yeah, let's do that for Halloween because I already have the scrubs." So I know there are plenty of things that I didn't cover that you're probably wondering about. So what questions can I answer for you tonight? Yes, ma'am.
What about students with an IEP?
Sure. Absolutely. So we have a full, so we call scholars with an IEP or 504, we have an Exceptional Scholar Services Department. I currently have 1 ESS teacher, which in another school might be special education teacher on staff. We have a contracted school psychologist, speech language pathologist, occupational therapist. What am I missing? Basically, the full range of services. So whenever a scholar might come in with an IEP or 504, we would provide all of those necessary accommodations and or services that are on the document. And then obviously we have, the child find or the SST process if we are noticing that interventions need to be started within the school. We have a full-time reading interventionist on staff. He is phenomenal. And so, yes, is the short answer. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say anything about class size?
Oh, sure, that's a great question. So our class sizes are capped from kindergarten all the way up to 7th grade and will be 8th grade at 27 scholars. So the caveat is that in kindergarten, we have an additional teacher's aide, and so really that ratio goes down to more like 13 to 1 for kindergarten. So there are always 2 adults in the classroom for the kindergarten scholars. Yes.
You said about parent involvement. The school she's at now, they have fingerprinted all the parents that wish to come on campus and mix with the children. Do you guys have any kind of security measures or
We do.
background measures for that?
Yes. So the question was about fingerprinting or security measures for parents to come on campus. We use a system called the Raptor. So you'll notice this even when, let's say you need to pick up your daughter early for a doctor's appointment, the very first time and really all times that you would need to pick her up, we're going to ask you for your driver's license so that A, we can verify that you are the mother, and we'll also use that if you are going to volunteer in the classroom, and that way we can issue you a visitor's badge that has your picture on the front. So that is what we use to verify that someone would be cleared as far as the safety measures are concerned to be allowed to come on campus.
And then do you guys also have like security cameras around?
We do.
Okay.
Yes, we do have security cameras. I'm just sort of repeating the question since I know what we're Yes, we do have security cameras on campus. Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
You had said on the website and then in the video about the bullying piece.
Sure.
I don't know if you have any examples that you could share or anything that you could add to just kind of elaborate how you handle that kind of thing. Or?
Sure. So as far as the no bullying policy, I mean, there's a lot that I could say about that. What the bottom line is that if Mrs. Parra or I, if we ever had something come to us, so let's say we'll use, Susie and Sally, there's an allegation of bullying that comes to us, then we would conduct a full investigation. We would bring both parents of Sally and Susie, so no matter who the victim would be and who the perpetrator, alleged, would be, we would bring both parents into the loop and or schedule a conference with them. So depending, right, if it were like the perpetrator and we found that that was actually a true allegation, that we had evidence after we interviewed multiple scholars and, the teacher saw something or whatever, then we would bring those parents in and sit down with the scholar, and then we would go into the consequences. Of course, those would all be confidential, but yeah, we were big into documenting all of those things, but we do conduct a thorough investigation. So obviously, we've got to keep FERPA in mind, the Family Education Rights to Privacy Act. So what we would then say to, like if it's Susie is found to be the bully, then what we would say to Sally's parents is, we have conducted the investigation, and just be assured that we are following our protocol and that the appropriate consequences have been issued, that we are handling the situation, because obviously you can't share, but we always bring both parents into the loop as far as communication. Does that kind of answer your
Yeah, I
question?
think I was thinking more casual than that example, but that's okay.
I mean,
Just
sometimes,
like kids being mean, like do you guys talk
Sometimes
about
it
it?
is
Like,
much-
hey,
yeah. Sometimes it is much more casual than
Yeah.
that. I was just trying to give you the
Sure.
the largest case of, where we would actually have to conduct an investigation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
How many grades? So is there like 2 first grades or is there 1 first grade? And in the future, will you add on?
Sure, that's a great question. So the question was how many grades of each, like how many classes of each grade level. So at maximum capacity, we'll have 4 classes of each grade. So currently, like we already have 4 kinder, so we'll definitely have 4 first grade moving on. And so, yeah, so I mean, I could give you all the statistics if you really wanted that, but we have 3 first grade right now, 3 second grade right now, 2 third, 2 fourth. So we're a little bit smaller in the upper grades, 5th and 6th, but basically we're going to expand kind of based on enrollment in the upper grades, but we're not looking to fill it up to like 4 grade levels of each grade next year. So we're trying to do it thoughtfully so that because I think it's really important, and we did this also at the East Tucson campus, I think it's really important to grow our community. And one of the really unfortunate things this year is that we're so much about relationships. And I was saying that all last year at all of our info sessions, and then what have we not been able to do as a nation this whole year is build upon our relationships. So our Central Tucson community hasn't been able to get together. We haven't had a fall festival. We haven't had a winter bazaar. We haven't had the mother-son dance that we usually have, or the father-daughter dance, or all of those traditions that are part of Leman Academy. So I don't want to get all teary because it's just been like really, yeah.
That's what's brought us here, is because her school has shut down, even though they promised to stay open. It's a private school, and there's like 10 of them. I mean, they've got all the money and all the mitigation stuff. I'm just like, yeah, we had enough. We just have enough.
Right.
And I understand you guys have been able to successfully stay open. And I mean, I know there's been an exception, but.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to stand up here and say that we have not had, cases of COVID here or there, but I'm so proud of the fact that our scholars and the parents have worked with us so closely. We have, additional cleaning staff doesn't even touch upon it as far as how committed we are to the hygienic measures that we've been doing all of this year to ensure that we can stay open.
Yeah.
So
it's just so brand new, and I'm worried about bringing her even into the next year because I feel like she'll be so far behind. Even what she would already be if she wasn't, behind with COVID.
yeah, well, I would just say to you, we are anticipating that. We do anticipate that we are going to get many new scholars, and we're not unaware that many of them have been online for what will be more like 15 months instead of just, the few here and there. So we will work with all of those scholars. We're very dedicated to it. And I think the fact that we're all about relationships should hopefully make you feel a little bit more comfortable, because we're not just going to, take your daughter in the door and then just be like, okay, we've got her, and not be communicating with you the entire school year.
You guys do summer school?
We do for, so she would be eligible the following summer of 22. Yes, so. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What's the typical homework load for middle school?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. So the typical homework for a 6th grader, and I'll just say this for everyone. So if you take your child's grade level that they're going into and multiply it by about 10 minutes, that's with some caveats, because it may be a little bit more, but you could typically expect about an hour a night for your 6th grade scholar. And that's starting at the beginning of the year. So we're talking like 10 to 15 minutes for a kindergarten scholar, and then it just kind of ramps up from there for each of the grade levels that I know we have a lot in the room. One of the really pieces of good news, I'm looking at you, is that Dr. Lehman believes that weekends and holidays and breaks are family time. So this is what I love about our school. So no homework assigned on Fridays. Are you smiling under that mask? Yes, yes. So
That's not the only thing she heard this whole night.
that's right. So tell your friends, because, and I think that is lovely because this is part, and I came from a different charter school, I won't tell you what it is, but we really noticed that the scholars had so much homework, and it was just nonstop, you know. So spring break, rodeo break, you know, all of those, there will be no projects due on the Monday after, or, you know, big essays, or science projects, or anything, or tests. So we asked the teachers not to assign tests on a Monday, because what would that mean? That would mean that you have to study all weekend, right? So Dr. Leman is very big on family time is sacred, and you should be able to enjoy your weekend. You work so you will be working all week, right? So you'll have that homework Monday through Thursday, so you will have to work, but then you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor over the weekend, so. Yes, ma'am.
I heard you talk about kindergarten and plus. Do you guys have preschool options open?
We do,
Okay.
yes. And so I'm not sure if our preschool director is going to be holding an open house, but I would love to get both of your names, and then I would love to forward it to our preschool director. Her name is Katie. She is just fantastic. And they definitely are going to be opening up some more preschool classes for the upcoming school year. They are just literally, the preschool is right here. There's a little building right next to me. And they have 3-year-olds and 4-year-old classes. Lots of different options. So your scholar, and they call their 3 and 4-year-old scholars. They even start them in the Saxon kindergarten math textbook in the 4-year-old classes. So honestly, we love the Leman preschool scholars, because then they come to us in kindergarten and they are just like, they're all set. And so yeah, they have like the 2-day a week all the way to, you could use it as like a full day daycare option. But they're learning, and I think that's what's so really cool about the Leman preschool, is that they have a curriculum, but they have an amazing playground, and they do, you know, they take naps at a certain time, and so lots of different options for you. So if you want to stay back and just give us your name and contact information, I'll put you in touch with the preschool director. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just in regards to like demand, I know it's probably hard to say, especially for the kindergartners coming in, but just kind of trying to gauge the likelihood of getting the first 1 or 2 schools before being put on a wait list.
Sure.
Like having just recently submitted the application. Can you speak a little bit about like just the demand and maybe just my hope that I think that we
Yeah. I think Ms. Gonzalez, do we have like a couple of spots left in kindergarten?
There's only 2.
2 spots left in
2 spots
kindergarten. I know that, I don't even have to look, I know that East is full. So if you live closer to the East Tucson campus, I'm not trying to steal you away from them. I love Mr. Edwards. He and I worked together for, you know, a couple of years. We're really good friends. But, I mean, we are better. Obviously.
Well, I did the Central as the number 1.
Great.
So I submitted the application today, so I don't know what order it would be.
I just accepted a bunch right now.
Okay, so.
So you might have that
perhaps-
registration.
yeah, perhaps you could stay behind, but honestly, I would say, I never can guarantee anything, but I would say you have an amazing chance of getting in to Central, because sometimes people put more than 1 school and then, you know, they'll drop out. And so even if you're on the wait list, if you're number 10 right now, we usually encourage families to hang in there with us, because we do start calling a few wait listers. You know, things happen. So,
Are there any grades that are full right now?
pardon me?
Are there any grades that are full?
I think so.
We do have wait lists in certain grade levels, but yeah, like there's one that like we don't have any opportunities right now. We're still waiting on some of our current scholars to turn in their intent forms for next year, so it could open up some spots.
Yeah,
I would just encourage everybody to just do the registration and take a chance.
definitely.
One of those that full first or fourth?
First grade we have 0 openings, so.
Which one?
There's no openings for first grade right now. But like we said, we're still waiting on scholars to turn in those forms. And if you think about it, the wait list is gonna be lower right now than it will be in 4 months from now, so.
And here's what I would say to you, because you said 2 grades. So it's important to know that if your 4th grader gets in, then guess what happens? Your 1st grader gets bumped up in priority as a sibling. So he or she moves to, actually kind of jumps the line, if you will. So that's just the way that it is, right or wrong.
How far, if there is a wait list, how far do you guys go to like, I mean, like, because I've got to this, my first grader, when if there's a wait list, my first grader is the one with the IEP. And so it's kind of one of those like, well, if it's not going to work out here, obviously I need to start finding somewhere else that will work. So
we pretty much will go all the way up to the first day of school, even past that. So we'll keep you guys on that wait list until, you know, if we give you a call and you say, hey, and I say, hey, we have a spot, and you say, oh, no, we already picked somewhere else, and we'll just take you off then.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll keep you guys on it.
So you guys just open an entirety school, central, more central, like Broadway, Country Club, that area.
I
Just
mean,
come on, we need to get in.
we've got to fill this one up first, so, yeah. What grade is your daughter going to?
She's gonna go into 2nd, but I also have a preschooler.
Okay.
So, for next year.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah, so,
So for this.
well, you guys do all of your registrations and then send all your friends after you register, and then we'll fill up, and then we'll tell the governing board that we need to open another school.
So still more spots available for graders for this year or no?
For 4th grade, I think we might have some spots for 4th grade.
Yes.
Yes. So see, it's all just, you know, yeah. So 6th grade, we definitely have spots. It's kind of, I mean, it's not random, but it's just our upper
Do
grades.
you need to be on a waiting list for that or?
You should be accepted. I think Ms. Gonzalez is just, she's working so hard. I've got her, I'm like, whoosh, whoosh, all the time. So she's working as fast as she can, so,
Because we was looking for a charter school, and I guess some of those schools you need to be on a waiting list. So
yeah.
I know the difference between this school to charter school. What is the difference?
So we are a public charter school. And so, honestly, all you have to do is just go to our website, lemanacademy.com, and then, and Ms. Gonzalez can help you just to go to the application page. It's all online, and then once you fill out the application for your son or daughter for 4th grade, then it basically triggers her, and she goes through her part, and then when she accepts it, it then triggers an email to go back to you to let you know that your child has been accepted. And then she just starts communicating back and forth with you. So it's pretty easy. Yeah. Yeah. All right, have I run over time? Because I've been very bad about, I told you I'd start on time and end on time. 6:29. Wow, okay, I mean, I'm acting like I'm pretty impressed with myself, but I just really got lucky. I got super lucky. All right, so here's what I'm going to do at this point. I will stay if you have additional questions, but I just want to be, again, respectful to those of you who were like, okay, I came, I got here at 5:30, I expected to be here an hour, and if you need to go, I totally get it. I'm going to put my mask on so that if you need to come and approach me, then we'll be at, socially distanced, but I understand you'll probably get closer. But I just want to thank you so much for coming tonight. I know that you are busy, and I know that your time is very valuable, so I appreciate you taking this hour and spending it with us. I certainly hope that we get to see you and your scholar or scholars at our campus in the upcoming school year. So again, thank you so much.